Electrochemistry, the solved multiple choice question that appeared in NMDCAT past papers from 2011 to 2024. Which one of the following is a strong electrolyte in solution? Acetic acid, ammonium hydroxide, carbonic acid, potassium iodide. So a strong electrolyte is a substance that completely dissociates into its ion when dissolved in water, meaning it breaks apart entirely into positive and negative charged particles. Potassium iodide is an ionic compound that readily dissolves in water to form potassium ion and iodide anion, which means that it is a strong electrolyte. It is completely ionized. So the option D is the correct answer, that is potassium iodide. Why the other options are not correct? Acetic acid and carbonic acid, these are weak acid, so they will dissociate partially into the water. And the ammonium hydroxide, it is a base, but it is a weak electrolyte also. In a redox reaction of sulfur dioxide with potassium permanganate in acidic medium, sulfur dioxide oxidizes potassium permanganate, sulfur dioxide reduces potassium permanganate, potassium permanganate is inert in acidic medium, and sulfur dioxide cannot undergo redox reaction. So first we will solve it using the reaction in which the sulfur dioxide reacting with potassium permanganate in acidic medium, it will produce manganese sulfate, potassium sulfate and water. So finding the oxidation states of sulfur in sulfur dioxide, it has +4, and in case of potassium permanganate, the manganese has oxidation state of +7. So from +7 it is changing to +2 in manganese sulfate, and sulfur from +4 it is changing to +6 in potassium sulfate. So upon summarizing it, sulfur from +4 state is changing to +6 state, and manganese from +7 state is changing to +2 state. If we look at this reaction, there is loss or gain of electron. Who will lose and who will gain? Sulfur from +4 it is changing to +6, which means that it will lose the electron, and that electron is gained by the manganese. So the species which lost the electron or which reduces other is known as reducing agent. So here the sulfur dioxide, it will reduce the manganese, or we can say that the sulfur reduces the manganese ion. So here the option B is the correct answer, in which the sulfur dioxide reduces the potassium permanganate. Which one is oxidizing agent in the following reaction? Zinc, elemental form, it will react with copper +2. Ionic form, it will produce zinc ionic form and copper in elemental form. Which one is oxidizing agent? First we will know about the oxidizing agent. That is that agent which gains the electron, or which means that it oxidizes other and reduces itself. So it will gain the electron. So the species which will gain the electron in this reaction will be the oxidizing agent. So the copper will gain the electron and it is shifted to copper 0. So the copper is oxidizing agent. And the zinc is reducing agent because it will lose the electron or it will reduce its other but oxidizes itself. So zinc is the reducing agent and the copper is oxidizing agent. The oxidizing and reducing agent below are H2S, hydrogen sulfide, it will react with ferric chloride, it will produce ferrous chloride, hydrogen chloride and sulfur elemental form. Which one is the oxidizing and reducing agent among the following? So upon solving it and mention the oxidation state of sulfur and ferric. So H2S, hydrogen sulfide, the sulfur has -2. From -2 it is shifted to sulfur elemental form that has sulfur 0. In ferric, it has +3. Ferric has +3 and it is shifted to ferrous which has +2. So upon summarizing it, -2 is shifted to S0, sulfur -2 is shifted to S0, and ferric Fe+3 is shifted to ferrous ion. So sulfur is a reducing agent. Reducing agent is that agent which reduces other but oxidizes itself. So here the sulfur will lose the electron and that electron is gained by the ferric ion. So the sulfur reduces other, that is the reducing agent. And iron, ferric ion is oxidizing agent because it oxidizes other and reduces itself because it will gain the electron from sulfur. So it will be reduced from Fe+3 to Fe+2. 3 to Fe+2. So sulfur is a reducing agent and ferric ion is an oxidizing agent. So looking at these options, there are option A and C. Both has same value but their sequence is changed. So we will look at the question. Here the oxidizing and reducing. Oxidizing is mentioned at first point. So the answer will be that in which the oxidizing species is at first point. So ferric is oxidizing agent. So this will be the correct answer because here the ferric is present at the first point and sulfide -2 is a reducing agent and it is present at the second point. So option C is the correct answer. Consider the following reaction. Silver ion, it react with nitric acid, it will produce silver nitrate, nitrogen monoxide in L0 form and water. Select this statement. Silver is reduced, nitrate is oxidized to nitrogen monoxide, silver gain electrons, nitrogen accept electron. So upon solving it or using the oxidation state, silver has 0 and in case of nitric acid, nitrogen has +5. In case of silver, from 0 it is shifted to silver +1 in silver nitrate, while in case of nitrogen it is shifted to +5 in nitric acid to +2 in nitrogen monoxide. So upon summarizing it, silver is shifted to silver +1 and nitrogen +5 state is shifted to nitrogen +2 state. So looking at this reaction, if the first option is correct, silver is reduced. No, here the silver is oxidized because it will lose the electron. Nitrate is shifted to nitrate is oxidized to nitrogen monoxide. No, it get reduced. Silver gain electron. No, silver will lose the electron because from 0 it is shifted to +1. Nitrogen accept electron. Yes, this is the correct answer because here the nitrogen +5 is shifted to nitrogen +2. So upon gaining the electron, it is shifted to nitrogen +2. So it is the correct answer. Nitric oxide acts as an oxidizing agent, reducing agent, both oxidizing and reducing agent, neither oxidizing nor reducing agent. So there is no reaction given from which we can calculate the oxidizing and reducing power of a compound. So nitric oxide can act as a both oxidizing and reducing agent depending upon the species with which it is reacting. For example, when it is reacting with hydrogen sulfide, so it will be oxidizing agent. Nitric oxide will act as an oxidizing agent. And when it will react with ammonia, so it will be as reducing agent. So the ability of nitric oxide to act both as an oxidizing and reducing agent depends on the other reactant and the reaction conditions. So it will depend upon the species with which it is reacting, whether it is oxidizing or reducing. So it can act both as an oxidizing and reducing agent. The reducing agent in the given reaction is potassium permanganate. It will react with potassium iodide. In the presence of sulfuric acid, it will produce potassium sulfate, manganese sulfate, and iodine in gaseous form. So which one of the following is reducing agent? Potassium permanganate, potassium iodide, sulfuric acid, both potassium iodide and sulfuric acid. So looking at the reaction, here in case of potassium permanganate, the manganese has +7 oxidation state, and manganese sulfate it has +2. So from +7 it is shifted to +2. In case of potassium iodide, iodide has -1, while the iodine it has 0 oxidation state. So upon summarizing it, manganese from +7 is shifted to manganese +2, while iodide from -1 is shifted to iodine in 0 form. So if we look at this reaction, here the reducing agent is that species which reduces other, which means that it will lose the electron. So here the iodine has minus state and -1, and it is shifted to 0, which means that it has lost electron, and that electron is gained by the manganese. So iodine has lost the electron. It will undergo oxidation, but it will act as a reducing agent. So iodine is a part of potassium iodide. So the potassium iodide act as a reducing agent.